and I went, okay, the game is obviously great, and I think what's not good is the unique part. Like this is a thing that's not going to work. Technically, it's basically impossible. I realized at some point, no, you don't get it. Like Unix is altered, and we're going to do it with them. I feel like I've seen what's coming for you, and I'm like already waiting for it to happen.
Hey everybody, so excited to be back here today. I'm going to be chatting with Charles. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
We're going to be pulling a giveaway quick up on the screen for the holiday season. I wanted to give something back to all of you, my subscribers, and anyone watching this video. So, yeah, look at the details here now. For the holidays, I wanted to do something special. We're going to be talking game design, looking at the recently spoiled Santa Claus card from Trial by Frost, and more. Why not throw a giveaway in there as well so we can get you some presents? You can pick from any of the items on the screen. I'll be giving out one of these, either a Trial by Frost playmat, a sleeve and deck box set, 20 print-on-demand cards, or a playset of foilers. To enter the giveaway, just like the video, subscribe, and comment your pick. In about 2 weeks, I'll make a post announcing the winner to my subscribers on the community tab of my channel. And if this video gets at least 5,000 views, I'll announce an additional winner at the end of January. See the full details in the description, and happy holidays. Alright, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's jump into our interview here. So, first, let's get a quick introduction. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What's your position at Equinox, and how did you get there?
Sure. So my name is Charles Wickham. So I'm part of the game design team. I've been there for almost 2 years now, and I have been lead designer on Try by Frost, and I'm going to be like lead designs on future sets too. How did I get there? So actually, the thing is, I do not have a pure game design background. I do have a degree in engineering. I worked for IT for some time, and I was competitive Magic player on my spare time. And so I've been grinding since 2016 around that. Went to like I don't know 40 GPs or something around the world. I went to the Pro Tour. I was very invested in winning, but also knowing how the game works. And like with the time and trying to make my custom cards and stuff, I got invested in okay, what could I do? And then at some point, one of my friends pointed me to like he was working at Equinox and said, "Oh, we are recruiting. We are looking for someone in game design." And I was like, "Oh wow, this is like my dream job, basically." Working in game design at a TCG company, so I was like, "Oh, I better give it a shot." And I was like, "I'm not sure if I'm competent for this because I do not have degree and all of these, but I have been doing this for years and stuff. So at this point, I applied and got in, and here I am.
Yeah, that's so cool. I feel like I'm sure a lot of people listening as well are like, yeah, the game design job, that really does seem like a dream job. So I feel like you're in a pretty sweet position.
Well, to be fair, it's very hard. Like I've pretty much worked twice for like half the money, but I am very happy. And
Mm-hmm.
like the thing is, I was selected from this job. Basically, part of my IT background was interesting for Equinox for all the Unix things
Mm.
because they were like, that's going to be interesting for the algorithm and all the things. And so that was important in my recruitment. And now I've spent my share time, like a lot of time working with them with Jack.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that, yeah, you were as involved in the uniques, but I feel like I can definitely see how you could use some like programming knowledge or, yeah, good like IT understanding because even just trying to like make like custom databases, I feel like in the community for us to like filter those and do different things, it's like a whole task. And so, yeah, I'm sure actually like on the inside, that's a ton of work for you all as well.
Yeah, it
I
is, and I'm going to talk about it extensively through your next questions, I think.
Okay. I do have one extra question though that I want to ask just after hearing your introduction. So the magic background again, and I feel like Justin was saying the same thing as well. Is there like a little bit of maybe like bias in the team where it's like you have to have a magic background or something, or do you all like look at and recruit players from other TCGs as well?
Well, the thing is, Magic is the most popular game, so
Mm-hmm.
most of the TCG players are going to be into Magic. But that's not the thing, because uh, among the team, we have people that like Magic, that like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Runeterra, Hearthstone, Flesh and Blood, like pretty much any TCGs we're interested in. Like we play Star Wars Unlimited, we play some Lorcana, we play everything. So yes, I was invested in Magic, which most of us have played, but this is like doesn't mean it is our favorite TCG.
Yeah,
And
that
like
makes
in my
sense.
case, it is, but not all the team.
Yeah, I feel like hearing you mentioning like all of those different games, yeah, I feel like that's exciting to hear because it just feels like that means there's just such a big wealth of like knowledge between the team or like varied experiences and things. So, for you personally, do you have a favorite hero or faction? I'm just yeah curious to hear a little bit if any of those have like really like stood out to you or you're passionate about them.
Well, that's the thing. So I have several favorite heroes and a favorite faction, which is not heroes. I'm going to say Rin. I do love Rin. I really like Lindy Way. I like Traced. I like Waru. Almost, I'm pretty biased because some of those I've worked on a lot, which means that I have an emotional attachment to them, and I am very attached to Waru, which I know some people don't like, but this is a favorite of mine. Favorite faction, I think it is Oris to be fair, but also like I like playing with all the factions to be fair. Like
Mm,
maybe the only exception is Lyra. Like I am definitely not a Lyra gamer. But apart from that, I will play any faction with pleasure.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good for me to hear because I'm also a Waru fan. It's one of my favorite heroes right now, so I'm like, oh, we got the Waru fan working on Trial by Frost. That means I must get at least one or two gifts coming in the future set. I'd hope, but
I mean, I have kind of a reputation among the team of being responsible for some of the competitive cards because I'm like,
mm,
this design is cool. Maybe we should push it a bit for competitive. And then they're like,
uh-huh.
nah, Shah, what are you doing? I'm like, you know, the grinders, they're going to like it. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Mm-hmm. So that gets me wondering, yeah, how much is like the team focused on the competitive scene versus like the casual scene and different things like that when they're going through the process, or yeah, is it like there's different champions in the team who try and like push their different agendas, or yeah, what's that all look like?
Well, pretty much, yes. We have like different profiles in the team, and like we have profiles that are very good at exploring new mechanics, part of the design, like challenging everything. Like, should we have three maps, four? Should we do something completely different? How about the board? Should we renew everything? What's going to be fun to players and all this? And we have people that are more into what's the technicality, how much should this stat be, how are competitive player going to interact with that, and all of this. And I'm more in the second camp than the first.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So um with like your favorite heroes and things, I I even think too. You said you really like Rin, and I'm like, yeah, I see Rin as like the biggest character on like the art for Trial by Frost or whatever, just like coming in, pulling us all along. I definitely think we'll probably see some support for Rin in this next set. And how do you maybe like try and avoid bias when you do have those different profiles, or when you have like some of those favorite heroes as you go through the process?
Mm, to be fair, so the thing is, game design is very a team job. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever you design cards, we have a recurrent team reviews where everyone gives their opinion about each card in your card file. So and like everyone knows pretty much everyone's bias. So like if I know one of my coworkers loves the ramp, I'm going to take a look at the like 8 mana cards and see, okay, is that good? Like, and if
Mm-hmm.
they know that I like the competitive things, it's like, I see you've made a card that draw 2 cards. Is that is it a bit much, or do you need it? And so I'm like, yeah, it's fun. It's like, yeah, maybe it shouldn't. And so we're trying to each like mitigate the bias of each of those, because the thing is, most of the time what's exciting for us doesn't need to be that much exciting to still be. And
Mm-hmm.
so tone it a bit down still is good for players. And like, we don't realize how good it's going to be for player when they see the card for the first time. And uh like, having softer cards give you more room to explore with rares and uniques and all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So when you start like creating a card from like the very beginning, do you start with like the name and the lore, or is it like you have certain specs where you're like, okay, we need a 2 cost card for this faction that's good for this hero, or is it like you just think of a cool effect and you're like, where can I put it? Like, yeah, what does that look like? I'm sure it's not always the same, but like, what's the typical process?
Well, the easy answer is it depends, and
Mm-hmm.
most likely it depends both on the set and on the designer. So some designers are very mechanical. They're going to say, okay, here are my mechanics for my set. This is what my stats looks like, and I need a 3 mana card that's going to be easy to understand. That's going to be in my pre-constructed deck. So this is what I want. Or I need, like my set is about the snow and the winter, and I want to have Santa Claus in there. What's he gonna do? And so, that's the thing. We are different, and which is like we complete ourselves. And so this is why, for example, in Try by Frost, on my team, I had Nathaniel, which is really lore focused. And so
Mm-hmm.
we had a brief, like we had the snow thing pretty quickly on the design, and so he knew he wanted to have like some designs, and we worked top down from those. While for me, I at some point I was like, okay, here we have a hole we need to fill. This is a bit too complicated. How do I go? Or like all of this.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I feel like, yeah, I can really see how the different team members would all balance each other out. Now that you've mentioned Santa Claus, and I mean, since this is the holiday special, I feel like we just have to like take a second here to talk about that. So yeah, this card was spoiled a little while ago, and man, this Santa, man, he's got some style here. We see the sunglasses. The reindeer has sunglasses. And
Oh
honestly, it
yeah.
looks like the sleeves. That kind of reminds me of some of Nevenka's clothing almost a little bit here. Yeah, this seems like a really cool card, and it's got an interesting ability. Maybe I'll even let you just kind of introduce this some more and tell us a little bit about Santa Claus. Yeah, in the upcoming set.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we knew Tribe of Us was going to be the winter set, and so we were like, oh, it's going to come out around winter. We're talking about the snow. We have our universe with, like these characters that are well known. Like, we should use Santa, that's for sure. And at some point we were like, okay, how is going to look? Because it is our Santa. Because we can reimagine the characters in the words of in the world of Altered. And then we were like, our Santa definitely is cool. It's going to have, like, the glasses and all the thing. At some point we were thinking about the tuning of the vehicle and such, but the sunglass idea was so good. When we saw the first draft, we were like, oh, that's so good. We're going to go with it. Mechanically, the design was pretty straightforward for us. It's like, what does Santa do? It gives gifts, so everyone's going to have something for free. And so we toyed around with a bit with the idea, and then we got it. And we were like, okay, he's going to help you play a card for free. And the good thing with that is that, always with the Lyra thing, you can, trick it to your advantage, obviously. And also that was a good thing, that the more people you have, the more gifts you give, which was a good thing for us. So we were very happy with this design.
Mm. Yeah, it's a very interesting card. Looking at it myself initially here, I see like 055 for 5. And I think there's like slightly modified stats for the rare. That doesn't seem like that incredible on its own. I feel like we've seen some cards in the past that are commons that have like a full 555 for 5. And so now though
Mhm.
when we go to this wild effect, yeah, that totally fits Lyra. You get to play a card immediately from your hand with cost 3 or less for free. I feel like here you really have to find a way to get more value out of this than what the other people at the table are if you want to like make this work. So I'm sure in a deck where you're running this, you're going to probably need to have some way where like you have maybe some draw or you have some like just like really like busted 3 cost cards so that when you play this, hopefully your opponent who's maybe only got a couple of cards in hand, like if they play something for free, well then maybe they don't have something else to use the rest of their mana anyway, so it's not as much of a benefit to them as it might be to you.
Yeah, the
Um,
thing is, in Alter, like you have the reserve, which is like most of the time, most of the time it's like half of your opponent's resources face up, so you know what they're like. Some of the things they are going to do, and sometimes they can't do much more.
mm-hmm.
So if
Yeah.
you go like, here's the gift, you can do it. It's like, yeah, I was going to do it anyway. Well,
Yep.
good for you.
And I see too. It says hand cost 3 or less for free. So I mean, with the reserve as well. If you had something in the reserve, I don't know if we have anything like right now that exists, but I'm sure in the future, if we get a card that's like 3 costs from hand, 6 costs from reserve, that could be a really nice gift as well. Where now you can get that essentially 6 cost card for free because it still does have the hand cost of 3 when you're playing it. So I'm sure there might be
Well, I'm
something like
pretty
that we
sure
could see in the future.
if you play in 2v2 and your partner is Bravos, there are some nice things you can do with that.
Yeah, the 2v2 is interesting. So I'm curious how much, when you guys are designing cards, are you focused on like all of the formats, draft, 2v2, and things as well, or versus just the main constructed format?
Well, the two most important format for us are constructed and limited, basically, like
Mm-hmm.
draft. And the good thing is when draft is good, sealed is good. So we don't need to focus particularly on sealed because draft has higher constraints than limited than sealed, and it's pretty much the same. So we just do constructed and draft, and we pay a bit attention from 2v2 from some designs. Like when we do design, sometimes we're like, okay, this is particularly good in 2v2, and sometimes and we evaluate it. So okay, how big is it gonna be? Is it an issue? Are we good with that? And then we move on.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like as long as it's not going to break 2v2, it is fine for you guys if like some of the cards are like, oh, this will be really good in 2v2, but that's fun. So like we'll just let it slide by or something.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes it goes around. Like sometimes at some point we look at a card file and go, okay, should this card be like slightly tweaked so that it works in 2v2?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like what happened to some cards in Beyond the Gates that were twisted like to the end when they could like create tokens, for example. Most of the card that creates token on Beyond the Gates mention target expedition,
Mm-hmm.
which means you can create them in your friend's expedition.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah, that makes
that
sense.
was a change that was a change that was made for 2v2 so that you can just help around your friend. It doesn't cost us a lot and it's pretty cool to do.
Yeah, yeah, I think anything like that where you can just slightly tweak the wording and it has no impact on the other formats that we already talked about, where like it's just with 2 players, might as well just throw it on there, yeah, for some extra flexibility and excitement. So I think that's really cool that you guys, yeah, do revisit the cards there at the end and just yeah make some of those quality of like life changes for us in the community. I feel like outside of just the formats, there's definitely some interesting like deck building constraints in Altered. I feel like that also would go into design and balance as well. Things like now we have 3 uniques, 15 rares, and then the commons, and they're kind of like in a progressive level of power, especially with the uniques that can have all sorts of effects and combinations that maybe you wouldn't expect or plan around. Yeah, how does their existence affect the way that you have to balance cards or go about game design?
That's a very hard question, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, usually we have an idea of what are each, like, for each character, what are the best uniques going to look like, because then they are included in our playlists and we take a look at them. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, for Beyond the Gates, there are some very popular Unix the community has caught up with that we were testing. We were like, okay, for Athanas, we know that these precise Unix are going to be good. So let's test the deck with them. And so, like, for some decks, we know, okay, these kinds of Unix are going to be the best. And so let's see how it affects the game. What are they going to look like? But you know, Unix aren't easy. So we try to know what we're doing and, like, anticipate the things and then design around what we already know. But there are so many cards that it's hard to anticipate everything with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So for like some of these uniques you've mentioned where their effects you were like these are going to be the best for these heroes, we want to make sure we get them right. Do you ever like as a team try and like make sure that certain uniques do exist in like a higher frequency so that those like effects that you're testing can be like widely available, or like you're almost like planning on them being like a core part of like the altered gameplay experience?
Mm, I mean, not really. The way the Unix are made is that each character has their identity, and so normally when we identify a unique as core to a plan, it's because of its identity, but sometimes it is not the case. Like, for example, some very good Muna uniques don't really fit one identity of a character. They just appear randomly on all of them, and we're like, okay, this pattern is good. It's not specific to a character. We just identified that it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, when we see a pattern that is good, we try to check with how many characters is going to appear.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, there could be a pattern that appears that wasn't anticipated, and sometimes maybe it's going to happen only on one character in a specific configuration, and then that could be very rare. But I think that's the thing with the Unix. Like, some pattern will only appear with specific characters in specific conditions, and then that's going to make them pretty rare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've definitely seen that. I have seen things where it's like, yeah, this is like one of a kind, and I don't know if this was something yeah you guys were planning around or just something crazy. One example I've seen is like for Hydrocana. So that's like a card that has Eternal. Nothing else really gets Eternal. So if you want to get an effect with like in combination with Eternal, it would have to be on that card pretty much.
Yeah.
And one time though, I saw like Ganesha's effect on Hydra, and I was like, wow. I've only seen one like that so far ever, but like some of these other cards I've seen maybe like 30 that are just slightly different. I was like, that is a cool card right there. I'm like, if you play the Hydra, it's so sad when someone uses a removal on it. Now you have like nothing the next day. But if you play your Hydra and it re-anchors all your other cards, all of a sudden now on the next day, even if they remove him, you just have the other stuff as backup. I was like, that was a pretty cool combination to see.
Yeah, you have two great examples here because the Ganesha effects is one of the effects that appears on some random cards.
Mm-hmm.
That's very exciting, and we are happy to see because it's like doing fun stuff basically. And also the Hydra Canea was one of the hardest cards to do when we were working on the Unix because, as you say, it has Eternal, which means anything busted that would appear on it would stay forever. So that was very challenging for us to find the right step of, okay, how good is this effect? What should we do? And all of these. And, like, we tried to do as best as we could. And maybe Hydrocana wasn't the greatest of the card we did as unique in Beyond the Gates, but some of them are really exciting and you won't be seeing their effects anywhere else. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And are there any other names or cards that you felt like took a lot of work to get right, or that like kind of stand out to you as being like other cards that needed extra attention?
Oh yeah, some of those did. Well, basically every card that was like some of those didn't turn out well at the end, which we were happy with, but some of those were not amazing. And like for example, the moonlight jellyfishes were a very hard example because their identity was a lot of stuff, and so we weren't exactly sure how to transmit it through Unix. And also, it is at heart a one mana card, so whenever you add some effect, then it becomes pretty good quickly. So then, you know, you have to move around stuff like allow them to go a bit over and all of these. And like for example, when you said the Kraken wasn't very easy because the Kraken has so many line of text. Like you have to sacrifice two characters. It's gigantic. It turns everything into water. So when you move, and also it's like zero and everything except in the water, and so you need to get a lot of versions of that, but you need to keep it identity, and you should get them excited. And so for the Kraken, it was pretty much too complicated to get all of this right. So we just tried another approach, and we're like, okay, what does the Kraken, like what makes the Kraken? And our conclusion was, well, the Kraken transform everything into water. So
Mm-hmm.
this is what we came to, and we're like, okay, Kraken does this. This is what it does, and then build up from there.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I can definitely see how you need a lot of like dials to move to be able to have as many uniques as you need. And I'm like, yeah, Altered's the perfect game for the uniques because it's like you have two costs, three biome stats, and then like multiple lines of text. There's a lot of things you can just change a little bit to get a new unique. But yeah, it's like as
Yeah,
soon as you take away two of those permutations, it's like mountains off the table, forests off the table. I'm like, yeah, I can definitely see how you start to get a little bit more yeah, like limited, and you have to maybe be a little more creative there to have as many different versions as you need.
yeah. Also, these arts hard to do cards were from the first wave, because
Mm-hmm.
the thing people don't realize is that Beyond the Gates was huge as a set, and it was the first time we were making Unix. Like if we were doing Krakens right now for the new set we're in doing right now, we would have a lot of stuff we can add because we have new mechanics, we have new like technology we can do, and all of these, and we know how to do it much better then.
Mm-hmm.
So you can expect nice improvements from set to set, from the old Unix to the new one, in terms of complexity, in terms of excitement, all of these, like tweaks in the identity, all of these things are going to be better and better and better each set.
Mm-hmm. Dang, yeah, that's just getting me itching to open some Trial by Frost packs. I just yeah, I'm really excited to see because I feel like I've had a good experience with uniques. I feel like overall there were some things that like I've maybe been like a little more disappointed with or that were like lacking, but knowing that even just like one set later we're already going to be seeing a lot of these changes and improvements, I'm just like really excited to see how the game grows and like yeah, what this next wave of uniques is going to look like.
Well, if you want my personal opinion around Unix, like I can share a little bit of the story, because
Okay.
when I was first pitched to the game and introduced to it in my first interview at Equinox, there was basically no Unix, and I just had the gameplay experience in front of me, and I went, okay, the game is obviously great, the idea is excellent, and I think what's not good is the unique part. Like this is a thing that's not going to work technically. It's basically impossible, and so you should just abandon that, keep the rest, make a great game. And so they were like, no, 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 we are doing this, and you're helping. And I'm like, I do not believe this is possible. I have no idea how we're going to do it. So, like, what am I going to do? And at some point, when like, as long as we keep pitching the game to people, like people keep getting excited about around the unique parts. And I realized at some point that okay, the unique thing is what is making Altered great, and we have to do it, and we have to do it right. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, now how do I how do I work so that we can have this work? And so Jack was already working on them for months, and then so at some point I joined him in the work, and like we spent month working on these, and like to be fair, I am very impressed with what we did. Like it seems a bit like I don't know egocentric or something, but I feel like this is pretty much uh, an achievement that's uh, that like basically I don't think any of us was really like obviously Jack was believing in this and like he knew he was going to be able to like we were going to be able as a team to do it and
Mm-hmm.
like at the end we were just focusing like we don't care if it's possible or not, we're going to do it and it's going to be great. And I think we did a pretty good job and I'm very happy with how it went.
Nice. Yeah, I think that um, the community, like as a whole, definitely is happy with the uniques and excited for them. I feel like one of the biggest testaments to that is I feel like nobody wants to play on some of the other like gameplay formats right now where you can use without uniques. I don't know if I'm like phrasing this right, but basically in the past I've had like
Yeah.
tournaments where it's like, oh, let's play all of the heroes and you don't have to use uniques or something. But like at this point now with uniques, it's like board game arena or bust. You know, people are like, if I can't use my uniques, I don't want to play or something like that. And it's like I think that yeah, people really do enjoy them, and yeah, I definitely believe that even more when I've seen people not even really wanting to play the formats or even touch them if the uniques aren't still in their decks.
Yeah, that's the thing because you know I'm a competitive player, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously when I was pitched the idea, I was like, yeah, but what about card availability and imbalance and all of these and stuff. And whenever I meet some players in like conventions and stuff, they say, yeah, but what about Unix in competition? Like, are you going to remove them and all this? And I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like, Unix is altered, and we're going to do it with them.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's our duty and job and like our difficulties to figure out how we deal with it. But we are going to do it.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And there's no other way. I feel like I've seen what's coming for you, and I'm like already waiting for it to happen.
So we have the new set coming up, as we've mentioned already, Trial by Frost. I mean, I feel like it would be a crime if we didn't spend like a good amount of time going through a little bit some questions for this upcoming set. As far as game design goes, it's probably something that people are the most excited about, the most curious about. We've only gotten a couple of spoilers, but it's all about like a month away at this point. It's really coming in soon. I'm curious, what type of a balance will we see between supporting existing strategies that people already know and love and introducing new mechanics and yeah, just like really like fresh ideas to the altered world?
Mm, basically, Try by Trust is only the first expansion, so we are trying to not get people too confused and do not drown people in like stuff. Like for example, there won't be new heroes available because there are still a lot of things to explore with existing strategies. Some of them have been lacking a bit in Beyond the Gates, and we're getting them some love for sure. All of them with diversified options, maybe like sub archetypes happening, maybe new way to play a hero that's already existing, this kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that is like a comforting answer to hear. I personally like totally agree that there are so many strategies that exist right now that haven't been fully explored, and with like 18 heroes, it's like there's no way that they could all get a chance to shine in the first expansion. And so I'm really glad to hear that yeah, some of those maybe like mid-tier heroes that people haven't appreciated as much, I'm glad to hear that they'll be getting some love, and that yeah, we'll really maybe get to see like a full deck for them be fleshed out a little bit. I feel like yeah, there's a lot of like interesting possibilities for existing cards and heroes that I hope yeah, that I'll be able to see some like specific cards I've been lacking for, things that will be showing up.
Well, sure. And as an example, in the very few cards that have been spoiled, you've seen Demeter, for example, that's eternal as long as you're in forest.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, this card was one of my design that I pitched for Beyond the Gates, and it was in Beyond the Gates card file for some time. And then we judged that it was a bit too complicated, and then we could just have basic eternal card, and then it got cut at some point because it was too complicated. And some of the cards in Try by Frost are cards that were good and nice and a bit too complicated for Beyond the Gates, and so they were just left for the next extension. And that's a thing that will happen a lot, and so that you're going to have familiar things in sets, so that, oh, this card is good in this deck, and that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's going to be cool for players.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I do, yeah, appreciate not bringing in like new heroes so early because it's like I think, yeah, it's just like with so many or something, it would just be like too hard to, yeah, like be able to explore maybe all of those options because you just like couldn't even keep up with it or something. But I think like the pace feels very like appropriate to me, and I think with like uniques and other things in the game, there's already so much going on that like we already have like infinite possibilities to explore for each hero.
Yeah,
So
very
it's like we
much.
don't maybe, yeah, need some of those new things, but you haven't like totally kept all new things from us. Like I've seen some new keywords already. I've seen a
Hmm.
couple of different things like landmarks. We always had those permanent landmarks, but now we've got some different types of them. So there's a couple of things people have been like speculating about, like that we are seeing already. So I'm sure it's going to have something for everyone, and like even players who really want something new, totally changing it, like they're probably going to get that wish as well.
Yeah, we wanted it to make like you mentioned gears. Well,
Mm-hmm.
not by their name, but by their mechanics, and we wanted to explore new parts of the game. And like with permanence, we were like, yeah, but what if permanence went into the expedition, and like you have a permanence that affect one expedition and not the other, and that's a very cool design space. And
Mm-hmm.
so we were like, okay, yeah, well, what can we do with it? What are the most basic things we can do that change the game a lot? And let's go with it. And basically, we were trying with all of these things that, okay, what can we do to improve and enhance the existing experience without drawing people in complexity?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. And I'm just curious too. I'll maybe just like open it up a little for you. Are there any other goals that the team has for Trial by Frost, or maybe like secrets or anything that you can share with all of us who are just so eagerly awaiting this second set for Altered?
Well, yeah, of course. We have like some form of document we prepare with the team, like GD and art direction and lore work during a conception of a set with goals of what we would like to show. And the first goal of Try by Frost was um, like being an immersive experience, basically. And like we wanted to showcase uh, the tumult in its form, like the thing that it lies outside the gates of Asgartha, and like this experience of, okay, it can be hard to live in its world, and we want show some. We want the set to be more evocative than Beyond the Gates, have a nice identity, maybe either visually and mechanically, and which is why I brought up to you one of the first design that was made. It's a design by my coworker Nathaniel, by the way, who likes to work top down a lot, and this is like basically the mountain you've seen in the art, the key art of the set, which was there very early on the design. And we were like, okay, there's going to be a mountain that's emblematic to the world. What can we do? How can we make it evocative? Can we like push the thing so that people feel the cold in their gameplay? And so this was the thing that uh, went and became the Icebound cycle at the end.
Wow. Yeah, I'm looking at this card right now for the first time. I didn't read it. I was trying to keep it as a spoiler. You are right. This is an exciting card here. Yeah, like this mountain already, it's kind of like almost like the Shenlong of the set or something. Where like that's all like the picture art we see. Like this is where everyone's headed. Glacier here, draw a card. I mean, not a bad effect to start. We definitely like card advantage, especially with permanents, which you can normally only play once, so they don't use as much of your mana throughout the game. And then at noon, each player with an expedition in water exhausts one card from their reserve. I can feel the chills right now. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Your water is freezing. That is brilliant and so interesting here too, because exhausting the card in your reserve, we've seen like some heroes have exhausting. Like we've seen Trace can
Hmm.
exhaust, we've seen Sierra can exhaust, but yeah, the reserve, it's something we've seen spoiled and touched on a little bit. Is there anything more you can like maybe share with us to explain how that impacts our gameplay?
I think I would be uh, targeted by marketing if I shared all my secrets about it. But basically, I can share the intention. I will first say that the card we're seeing here is not a real card, it's a prototype. It won't be in the set because it's you have the Icebound cycle that like birthed from it. But once funny thing you can see is the date in small in in right of the cards, bottom right hand corner of the card, which is like 18th of December last year. So it's been a
Mm-hmm.
year since we done this thing, and so we were in the winter. We were like, okay, what happened if you are of an expedition, you are into the mountains, you are into the water? Well, you are exhausted, and which is like the thing we came up with, and we were like, okay, we want to share this idea with people, and like you have your expedition going through the ice, and everyone is exhausted, and so this is where we came out to it, and I won't explain you exactly how it works mechanically, but I think some people had a hint about it.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I mean if you've got a guess for maybe the implications of being exhausted or how that'll work for gameplay, let us know in the comments below. Kind of your thoughts. We'll see who ends up being right in the end. And so just trying to like keep up with some of the things you've said. So are you saying that this card here it is not something that we can expect to see in this exact form in the set?
Yes, that design had a lot of issues, even though it was very exciting. That like the thing with this design, it showed us the target experience we wanted to
Mm-hmm.
have, but he had like issues in the way it worked,
Okay.
because it was affected both players, and it was not easy to follow, and it was slowing down games, like a lot of issue had with this particular design. But what was good with it was that people were feeling the experience we wanted to have, and so we
Mm-hmm.
were like, okay, this is what we want, how do we have it now?
Man, such a tease. So you're saying we're getting a spoiler for like the future spoilers or something where like this is the
Well,
identity we want to see for the set coming forward, but just you wait. We will see what cards like incorporate this into their design even though it won't be this exact one.
Well, to be fair, I think you've watched the Icebound cycle that was
Mhm.
spoiled at PAX U. So this is pretty much how it came up, because the first way we wanted the design was like, okay, people are facing, difficulties, and so this is what this landmark represented. And at the end, we arrived to, okay, people have trials to do during their adventure, and when they manage to face all the difficulties, they get a reward, basically.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really cool, and I'm just trying to think of all the other application that we'll see for in the set for like the story, and what maybe rewards will we get, or what will be like the benefits of overcoming these trials, and like, wow, I'm sure there's a ton of angles and ways you could take that, and yeah, that is just so fun, like how you incorporate the story into like the way the cards plays, into like the accessories that are available. I think that's something really Altered has done such a good job of, is being so immersive. I've been looking, it's like not only are we just getting like snow in the cards and the images, but we're getting a whole new like adventure track. Like the cards there are going to be having the snow on them. We're getting new card sleeves to match Trial by Frost with like the winter feel, new deck boxes. I'm sure we're gonna have all sorts of stories in the lore for the new cards. That's something I really appreciate. That really does take like a whole army from Equinox to be able to have like all aspects of the game be like touched by this story and just kind of come together here perfectly.
Yeah, that's the thing that was one of the big objectives of Try by Frost was that we want people to get invested in the lore. We want people to get invested in the feeling of, okay, something is happening. I'm not just playing cards left and right. I'm not just trying to have my pawn meet the other pawn. I am living a story. I am living an adventure, which wasn't something that was easy for me personally because, I am not that invested in all the lore and things, but I like the experience. I like the world building, and I liked, evocative things, top-down designs when they are well made. And so working on this set was cool for me in this sense because I felt like we were doing something that would make people feel things, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool, and can't wait for more spoilers and just to keep eating up all of the reveals and things that we're gonna see for Trial by Frost moving forward. Can't come soon enough. So I've been asking you all sorts of questions. You've been on the hot seat for a little bit, but I'm just curious. Do you feel like there's anything that you or the design team would like to ask me or the community, maybe that they could like respond to in the comments? Any kind of questions or feedback that you're looking for that maybe we could provide you or help you out with?
Oh yeah, that would be nice to know what you guys expect for the future of Alter, basically. Because
Okay.
the thing is, we work game design to design future sets, and we have to do it quite in advance. So we don't know exactly who you guys are and what you guys want until like month or years after. So that would be nice to know what you guys expect to see if what we did matched your expectations, basically.
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool that you guys are wanting to hear from us, I feel like, and that you are like in touch with the community. Yeah, definitely everyone in the comments, please let us know. I'll kind of compile what I find there or the notes and things and pass it on to the team. But yeah, how have you appreciated Altered so far? What do you want to see moving forward? Just kind of feel free to like take this as an opportunity to just leave some feedback, and we'll make sure that we can pass that all along, and so that you'll be able to hear those answers eventually.
How about you, Trickster? Do you have an answer to this question?
Interesting. So what it's kind of like, what do I hope for the game moving forward, or what do I want to see?
Yeah.
I'm sure I have lots of things that I would want to answer for this question. One personal thing I
Mm.
want to see is I want to see my collection have three really spicy uniques for each hero that I can have. I've been trying to fill that out. I'm definitely a bit of a collector right now, and some of them I'm successful, and I'm like, all right, I've gotten what I want. Some of them I feel like it's lacking. But overall, for the gameplay, I definitely want to continue to see like things that can reward like knowledgeable players or like experienced players and things when it comes to like tournaments and events. I really appreciate maybe the presence of just like lots of decision making in the game, so that like the more decisions you can make, the more chance you have to like outplay your opponent by making the right decision more than they do or something. And so I definitely don't think like we need like walls of text on cards or anything overwhelming, but I really like when it's like, oh, I can play this card to the right or the left, and now I have like a decision there. And so I think sometimes though it's like certain cards, it's like, oh, maybe like if a card costs 10, there's not as much decision making in that turn, because it's like I played the one card and that's all I have to do. Everyone would do it the same. So I think things where we're going to have like the option to play multiple cards in a turn, things where we're going to have like the option to what you put in your mana is like significant and it has like lasting impacts on how you're able to like perform in the rest of the game. I don't know. A lot of this may be like deeper stuff that maybe isn't as obvious on the cards, but like when you test them, you realize they are bringing extra decisions into the game. I think that's something I'd really appreciate a lot that I could like dive into and spend time like theory crafting with my friends or like optimizing in my lists.
Okay, that makes sense. You strike me as someone that will enjoy Try by Frost.
Oh, that's good to know. I think as well, something I'd appreciate is just having all of the heroes have a chance to be in the spotlight. I feel like I like to play all of the heroes, and there are definitely some that I enjoyed maybe testing before Beyond the Gates was fully revealed that I'm like, oh, they just haven't really like done it for me in this current expansion. So I think I am super excited as well to see um, what new cards can come to like give them a chance to now like keep up with maybe some of the decks that are already like really powerful and established in the future.
Sure. Well, hope they'll have their moment in the shiny
Mm-hmm.
light.
So I think we can start to wrap up now. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I'm sure that everyone watching this definitely appreciates kind of getting the inside scoop. It's really fun to just see the game that we spend so much time playing and enjoying from a different angle, and also just so fun to the like have a little bit more to look forward with, get some insight maybe into what's coming down the line. I'm sure like yeah, that a lot of players will really appreciate everything you shared with us today, and it's kind of just that lifeline holding us on as we like wait until we get to the next expansion. So yeah, really appreciate the time you spent with us and answering some of my questions, even if they were like maybe harder or easier for the different ones. But yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, thank you for having me. To be honest, that's sometimes it's a bit frustrating to have to keep my mouth shut because if I don't, I'm going to get destroyed by marketing. So I would like to, tell you everything, but that still is nice to have you hanging a bit and then so that you can discover everything when the cards come out. And I hope you're going to like what you see. We put so many efforts and so much love into Try by Frost that I really hope you're going to like it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, if you've watched this far, make sure that you leave a like and yeah, answer some of those questions we've been discussing in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Watch out. We're going to be bringing all sorts of content with Trial by Frost. We're going to be yeah doing more card spoilers, set reviews, and all sorts of stuff. You won't want to miss it. So yeah, make sure to give us a subscribe and stick around. Thanks again, Charles. It's been great. And thanks to everyone watching. Until next time, we'll see you later.
I didn't have the occasion to brag on the podcast that I went 4-0 in my first Try by Frost drafts, but that's fine.
Oh, well, I can add that in super easy. So,
No, no worries, no worries. This is just me bragging to my coworkers. But
mm,
I beat Justin, so that's already enough for me.